Hello, everyone, and welcome. And as in the past, say a few words first for whatever occurred to me. And I noticed in the YouTube that what kind of audience is watching my videos. And I noticed a lot of people almost recently, 100% of them are like my age, around 60s. And on one hand, I'm happy that older people obviously know more about philosophy. On the other hand, I'm afraid. And where are the young peoples? And they don't understand me, or I don't know. I normally my feeling, my intuition is older people are a little bit conservative. They stick to what they believe, sort of like dogmatic, and they normally won't change much. And the young people are normally open to new ideas. So I'm thinking probably young people can understand better, like the the quantum mechanics. In the quantum mechanics dispute, the Einstein think he is so smart, he just won't give up his idea. He couldn't understand what the Bohr or in general the quantum mechanics people talking about. So I feel he is so stubborn that he couldn't open his mind for such a genius. It's really very obvious. But anyway, it looks like in my case it's opposite. And watching my video are all the old people around my age, and they follow me. I don't know how many lectures they watched, how much they understand. But anyway, it's better than nothing, right? No, that nobody watches you, and so thank you for that. As the second point I want to say is, I never noticed that if you subscribe it to a certain number of audience, they can pay you a little bit. I hope that's the case for me, and because philosophers need to eat too, right? So if you keep watching this, please subscribe. And I never said that before, but now I'll follow the trend, follow the tradition to say that, and subscribe so it won't cost you less than a second, and also hopefully I can have some money in return. I don't know how much, maybe $1 or $10. I don't care. But anyway, okay. So today I'm going to talk about some ideas, and it occurred to me overnight. And most of my ideas occur to me when I close my eyes. So sense in this respect is bad. When you open your eyes during the day, you cannot produce anything new. I mean anything. You are bothered by your senses. You smell, you hear, you see, everything. It just interferes with your thinking. That's always the case, trust me. All my major ideas, so it's in the early morning when I close my eyes, when I was in my bed. It's like, discard, right? And some people, the story says, people go to visit discard at like 10 or 11 o'clock, and he is still in bed. And the people knocked in. He got in. They come in, and the friends ask him, "What's wrong with you? Why are you still in bed?" He says, I'm meditating." I think that's exactly the same experience. When you're in the early morning, when you wake up, and as everything's so quiet, you can really concentrate. You don't need your eyes to see anything, or you can just close them without turning on lights. You see nothing. It's everything in your head. It's at that moment all the information are reorganized. Everything, if it's new, will occur somehow. That's what I feel too. Okay? All right. Okay. So far, so good. Let me come to the topic. I'm going to talk about some system thing and the proof, the verification thing, the axiom thing. So, a related topic to this is what's a relation between ideas and the theories and the systems? And a lot of people, or maybe in culture, we can see either in the West or in the Orient, there's a lot of wise people or saints or very smart people. But you know the difference. I would say normally if a person has new ideas, that shows his smartness. And this guy is smart, we say, because he always have some new ideas. We say it's smart. But if a person has a theory, that is organization of the ideas, consistent inside his theory, I always think that's very wise of him, or it's a wisdom. And have more ideas, can organize ideas into a group. That's very wise, and it can be called a wisdom. But I think the highest level is the system. The system, by definition, is the theory, organized theory on the larger scale. Or sometimes you need to inherit from other people generation by generation, and different historical periods you need to inherit. I think that's a major difference between the West and the East. Either in Hinduism or Buddhism, there is some inheritance, but it's not systematic. From the little I know about Buddhism, they have 4 points, like the first one, life is suffering or something, and you don't see a systematic way of dealing with it. And to the Chinese Oriental, to the Chinese part, to that part, I'm more familiar with, and you can see they have different period in different historical period, different saints or very wise guy appeared, but they have their each individual system. Nobody said, I get something from somebody, or very rarely they say that. That also from the perspective of thoughts or ideas, you can see there's no system. Everybody is like, we say, 100 flowers bloom at the same time. So each one is individual. There's no, you can say to some extent the individual flowers can become a theory by itself. It's like a localized theory, a small clusters of ideas, but there is no theory. There's no generation after generation inherited by each person from previously. It's not that system. Even less to say something like logic or axioms or proofs the ideas, the analysis to separate the subjective from the objective sides. There's nothing like that in the West, like in the West. So that's why I think in the West they have the systematic thinking, and they inherit it from each other. They go with the logic of development. So that's why I call it philosophy. But in the Orient, they don't. It's not only that philosophy gave birth to science, it's the right way to do it. You cannot just depend on your self-fancy to develop your ideas into a theory or something. You have to go the system way. If what you said is the truth, and it will be filtered down history, and other people will take it over and develop. That's what I feel about the philosophy in the West. Think about that. So many philosophers, so many theories offered to the world, each generation. Why only one or two left? And the later generation will think they are great, not any others. People forget anybody else. Why? Because the truth in it. Because it's a systematic, it's a real value. So that's what I feel about this part. That's a big difference between the East and the West. The East might have some sense, might have some clever people, or wise guy, or wisdom, or insight, but they don't have system. That's a problem. No system, no truth. The truth is in the system. So I put here the saying is like this: an idea means smart, a theory wise, but only system means the truth. That's my understanding. All right. Okay. So I found probably a better way to control this thing. I go like I don't need to do PowerPoint. I just raise it up, and so you know what I'm talking about. All right. Let's talk about the theorem thing. All right. Today I'm going to say the theorem is like this. What is the axiom? The axiom, of course, for my Instancology and absolutology, it's the absolute is the theorem, is the axiom. Absolute, remember, unspeakable, unexpressible, not expressible, and cannot say it because it's everything's foundation. You cannot even say anything because it's not a language. It's beyond that. It's entirely out of the relative. All right. Okay. That's why you cannot question it. You are not there. You're not. You didn't appear on Earth yet. So that's the problem. Actually, the world didn't appear yet. Okay. So that's the case. All right. So the absolute is the axiom. Okay. Everything started from there. No question asked about this one. All right. Okay. Next one, theorem. Okay, I have a few, and let's see what they are. The first one, the absolute, or TA, calls the relative, TR. Why do I say this? Because if there's no the absolute, there's no the relative. That's obvious. So since we have something we are not happy with it, it's limited, it's relative, we must have absolute. Right? It's a sort of in line with Aquinas' proof of God. It's the same idea, the causal thing, the mover thing. It's a little bit like that, but here I call it the absolute because we are philosophers, we are not the religious people. We just don't say it's God, everything's God, and then push it to God, and that's it. No, we don't say that way. We say that's because of the logic of the relative, we go beyond the relative, that is absolute. So absolute must be true, because the relative is true, right? The limited is true. The defective is always true, right? So there is something worse in this part. That's called absolute, all right? Okay, so that's a theory number one. Because we have the axiom of the absolute, so we have that relative. You have no doubt about that, and it's obvious. All right. Then the second one, if you look here, the relative caused the Big Bang, BB. Do you think so? Do you believe so? Well, according to science, that's the case, right? What is the relative? It shows itself by the Big Bang. Okay? In philosophy, in my theory, I call it potentiality cause actuality. Alright? In other words, actuality is the design of Heidegger or the being of Parmenides. The potentiality is a way to go coming into being. Alright? That's in my theory, I call it Zai. It's something like potentially there. Alright? If I translate it roughly, that's the meaning. Okay? I don't think there's any question about this, because everything we know, if we say it's there, it must caused by something. It must have a part of the process. It's hidden first. Yeah, I'll give you an example. Let's say recently there's a crime or a couple and of Muslims shoot people, a couple, young couple, right? They have no any criminal background. It's not, they are not on the radar of FBI or internationally. Nobody monitor them. But why they suddenly burst into existence and killed so many people? They have that ideas. They wanted to act like that. They stored weapons and ammunitions for a long time. They hide their hatred a long time. They converted themselves to the ISIS, right? Okay, that's called potentiality. But when they acted, that's actuality. All right? Okay, so everything in the world is like that, from potentiality to actuality. We cannot, in other words, I'm reverting the idea of being according to either Parmenides or Heidegger or Hegel or even Kant. Its being implies the recognition, the actuality of the existence. All right? First, we shouldn't talk about being. We should talk about potentiality. We don't know what being is. It comes into being from hidden, from the unclear, the murky water, and eventually it goes to the being, to be recognized, can be said it has existence. All right. Before that time, we cannot say being at all. We cannot say that. So I gave you the concept of that. By this, I don't even mean in terms of time and space. I mean logically. All right. In the Instancology, in my book, I divided the world into two parts. The macro world is entirely the logical part. Only the micro world, MACRO, macro world, is with the property, this is a new concept, property of time and space. All right? In the micro world, MICRO, there's no time and space, but there's existence. That's called a logical existence. All right? Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, so that's number 2. Let's go up, go down, or number 3. I want to say, or by deduction, I can say the Big Bang, we have it, the Big Bang, right? The process of a Big Bang, how it occurred, actually its event is duplicated in our thoughts or in our brain every day, every morning. Our brain or our thoughts at the beginning, at some dawn, before you wake up or something, after your dream ended, it's empty or there's nothing, whatever you think it is, because they have the nature of the absolute, so it's unspeakable too. It's like that state will, under this background of your brain, your first thought will occur, and the first thought, when that occurred, it becomes the object of consciousness. So that is a Big Bang. Alright? Suddenly, boom, it comes out into being. Alright? This is the same process as the absolute caused the relative to exist by the Big Bang, by the event of Big Bang. So whatever happened in your brain in the early morning each day is the event of Big Bang, of thoughts occurred. It's like that. Alright? I want you to take in this point and digest it, chew it, see if it's reasonable. Alright? Because the thoughts, whatever you have, cannot be connected directly to yesterday or to day before. They are, in computer terms, called stateless. Stateless. Only your memory, like your CD drive, has history of the past. It can connect you, whatever you have, with the past. Alright? Without the hard drive, the memory, your brain will, whatever you have, is stateless, like a web stuff. Okay? So that's a little bit computer wise thing. Well, if you don't, you are not into it, and that's okay. But I just want you to know the same thing occurred, the Big Bang, like Big Bang in your brain every day. It's not an analogy. It's not an analogy here. It's really happened that way because, according to the Instancology, my theory, the brain has localized absolutes. They have the property of the absolute. Actually, the property of the absolute in your brain is a pair of small localized absolutes. I call them the thinking and the consciousness. This is a property of absolute. Only when life reaches the point, the final point, it comes back to the absolute. In the relative part of the world, relative, our world, and things will develop, mature enough to reach that period. So I want to take this, stick in your mind about this point. Alright? So, okay, so event of the Big Bang called the event of thoughts. And speaking of that, you should have the immediate impression Big Bang is not only happened once. If it has a lifespan, if it moves, it must occur again. So that's a cycle of the Big Bang. Alright? Gave you that impression already. Like your thoughts, your daily cycle of your thoughts. It occurred every day, but Big Bang is longer, much, much longer. Alright? Space, time-wise. Okay? So that's part of the macro world. All right, next one, number 4. I want to say we can deduct the Big Bang caused the universe. I think that's pretty obvious. After Big Bang, we have the universe, right? We go the reverse way, reverse engineering. Because we have universe, we think of the Big Bang, and we prove the Big Bang exists. All right. So, but I want to extend this to say, thought caused the reality. Well, probably when you're reading it, you think immediately about Hegel if you understand Hegel. It looks like him, but here, when I say thought caused reality, the thought is sort of like a universal thing. It's like the absolute, the big absolute. All right, but to be specific, to come to the localized absolute in our brain, we know we can produce, for example, car or internet or whatever, right? First in our thoughts, then in our reality, right? You can say it's not it's the entire reality. How can you explain the other parts of reality? Well, you can think about the relative part is the absolute. It's a big absolute job. All right? But for this part of reality, if it's individual, it must have the property of abstract or general property of absolute. Okay? So you get this point. And when you like Hegel did, when you come to the logic of the potentiality of the reality, you first go through his loop of the logic, then come to the nature. All right, that's Hegel's system. Actually, here is a little bit like a fished and shelling system too. A little bit look like that, but that's a fact. That's a truth. All right, that's the truth goes that way. All right, so next one, I want to say thoughts when it occurred versus reality or caused the reality. It's the same as life versus matter. Well, here I don't want to say life caused the matter, because life to the relationship of life and matter is like the real, the rails, the pair of rails, the locomotives go. Okay, it's the two different things. All right, but they are versus each other. So I say thought versus reality. It's the same as life versus matter. And it's not that matter created life. All right. Oh, in some extent, I don't say life created some matter either. Maybe like cars you can, and people, that's a thought created. But it's fundamentally the nature of our world. Life and matter are entirely different things. All right. Here I have some thoughts about it's different from Hegel's idea. So I think I need to think about this more. This theorem, this part. When I talk about this, it occurred to me that this is still some legacy left by Hegel. My idea is not like the previous one, the number 4. Thought produce the reality. It's not my idea. In the Instancology, it's not like that. I think they are parallel somehow. And you can say thought and the relationship of thought with the car or with the internet is a causal relationship. But I still think they are different things, because when you make a life from the DNA, is different from scratch, from using chemical elements to make life, right? It's different. If you just like a stem cell, you cut a part of it, then make a life. It's different from you go from scratch. You make from chemicals like carbon, hydrogen, helium, and you make life from the elements, nuclear elements. You go that deep level to make life. It's a different thing. All right. Okay. So I reserve this part, and I want to. My idea is not entirely like Hegel's. Here, I think they will depart from each other. All right. Let's go to next one. Number 6. Matters versus life. Okay, this is the idea in my Instancology and absolutology. The relationship of life versus matter, or matter versus life, I reverse it, but anyway, the same thing. To me, it's a land versus a seed. In other words, the seed is absolute from the absolute. The absolute, when it caused the relative to be created, it put the seed in it. That seed is life. So from here, when 1 is the relative, it becomes 2, becomes 2 parallel elements in it. One is life, one is matter. So that's a big, very big, cool difference between Instancology and absolutology, and Hegel system, I mean. All right? Okay. Next point. So, to my mind, 7, cycle of life equals the cycle of universe, equals the cycle of Big Bang, equals the cycle of the relative. In other words, it's all instances. That's why I call it Instancology. That's the reason. Okay, so it means it can be repeated many times, but each time, think about that. When the Big Bang, the duration of the Big Bang ended, everything's gone. Even time is gone, right? So whatever they are, the previous Big Bang from another Big Bang, they are not connected because it's caused each time. All right, every Big Bang has a lifespan. That's a lifespan of our the relative, the life, the cosmos, the universe, everything. All right, that's basic idea. If you look at my book, you notice there's some one graph. It looks like the necklace of your wrist necklace. That's the idea. All right, I put it there. So that's number 7, and the last one is sort of like a conclusion. So I'll say the instances of events duplicate themselves each time. In other words, instances can occur, the relative can occur, the Big Bang can occur many times, but the components inside each event or instance or during the duration is unique, like a transcendental number, like a pi, like a natural number e, right? It's like that. So in other words, each of us as human beings is unique, or the real creation is unique in only to the extent of this instance or event. They cannot repeat, but the entire instance will repeat again and again. The events will repeat again and again. So that's my point. All right, that's basically what I have thought and I want to say today. And if you have any thoughts about this, and please put into comment. I'll reply. I'll discuss with you. Thank you very much. Bye. I'll see you.